Namaste, Shri Guru Bhyo. I'm very happy to be with you, and I'm very honored to be with the previous speakers who have spoken so eloquently and given such a good understanding of Vedas in a modern context. Now, what I want to do, before I even go into the question given to me, is I want to look again at the living Vedas and what we could also call the living Veda traditions. In India, the Vedas kind of fell in the background over time and were no longer the center of attention. That was passed on to Upanishads, then to various Vedanta, various Sampradayas. And it's only in modern times that there's been another return to the Vedas that has gone on. And there's also been the examination of the Vedas by Western scholars, examining it from a place that is, of course, very different. Now, the first thing we need to understand is Vedas come from a different yuga. They are not from our present understanding of time, place, culture, or even language. So the Vedas have to be looked at in a different light. We have to almost go into a different yuga, a different understanding, and a different way of language in order to understand the Vedas, which is very difficult. And also something people don't even have the openness to or recognition of. Vedas are a mantric language. And here, mantric language is not just another form of language. In fact, in this regard, discussing about consciousness, consciousness is not quantitative. It cannot be turned into a quantity in any way. It is not measurable, and it is not something that can be seen. It is the light, it is the seer, as Shastry has explained in the Vedantic view. So the mantra helps us understand this non-quantifiable aspect of reality, which is not only the seer and the light, it is also that unfoldment through mantra, pranava, primordial sound, sound that holds and embodies meaning, sound that is the presence or reflection of the seer. So in the 19th century, there was this idea of return to Vedas. It also impacted the Indian independence movement quite a bit, particularly through Tilak and also through Aurobindo. It impacted the religion, the philosophy through Swami Dayananda and Arya Samaj. And it became then a deeper way of understanding. And here I would like to discriminate a little bit between Veda and Vedanta. First of all, everything that is philosophically discussed in Vedanta is mantrically portrayed in Vedas, going all the way back to the oldest Rig Veda. However, over time, there was this distinction of Vedas, particularly Rig Veda, but also Samhitas, Brahmanas, Aranyakas, everything but Upanishad as karma kanda, or relating to ritual, and the jnana, or the knowledge, being the Upanishads. And this is actually incorrect. And what the truth is that karma and jnana are the two ways of looking at the Vedic mantras. They have an outer application as ritual, but ritual in the sense of unfolding the sacred order. Everything in life is full of rhythms. We have the seasons of nature. We have various processes in time and various formations in space. So in the ultimate sense, ritual is the way of cosmic order, and karma yoga is action done with consciousness, and we could say consciousness of the transcendent, but essentially consciousness is being present and non-quantifiable as the seer can be there at every moment and yet not be limited by time or space. So there's been these new interpretations and lines of understanding Vedas in modern times. And there is what we would call the Adhyatmic, or you might say Upanishadic interpretation even of Rig Veda. In fact, if you study the Rig Vedic text and other Vedic texts, you'll find that Upanishads quote them all very frequently, or they even paraphrase them. So they did look upon Veda, old Vedic mantras, as the Shruti. And the Vedic mantras need to be understood directly. They're not just simply a matter of logical or philosophical thought or analysis, but that also has its play. For example, when Yajnavalkya makes the great statement in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, Aham Brahmasmi. The I am is Brahman, not the I that I think I am, not the ahankara, but the essential self-awareness is Brahman, the supreme reality, the transcendent, the immanent, the all-encompassing Satchitananda. He says this is what the Rishi Vamadeva meant and saw when he gave us the mantra, Aham Manor Abhavam Suryascha. Aham Manu, I am Manu, and Aham Surya, I am the sun. And then you say, well, what does that have to do with Aham Brahmasmi? Well, in the Vedic language, everything has many levels and dimensions and cannot be reduced to a simple outer form or meaning. Manu is the mind, Manu is the human being, and Atma is the power behind that and also transcendent to it and the foundation of any insight or creativity it has. So in that sense, even Manu represents Purusha, the seer. Now, Aham Surya, here we want to understand Vedas. To understand Rig Veda, you need to understand the Devatas. And Surya is in many respects the supreme being. We say, oh, Surya is the sun. We see the worship of the sun throughout the ancient world, the pyramids of Egypt, the Native Americans here have it. All the ancient cultures had that honoring of the sun. But in the ancient language, remember too, language arose also from images. So the sun had a meaning at an abstract or transcendent level, besides its simply being an outer form. And in that respect, the sun is said to be the Atma, the self, the I, the seer, the knower of all. The famous Vedic mantra is the Gayatri mantra. There are 250 Gayatri Suktas in Rig Veda. This is one Gayatri mantra from the Rishi Vishwamitra, but it is also then calling that supreme light, Savita, which is the transformative power of the divine light and also the power of the seer. So that understanding of Surya as Atma on many levels, that then becomes the basis of Brahman, and that becomes the basis of the statement of Yajnavalkya. And even this Shvetashvatara Upanishad, I think it's the second section, when he describes yoga, he quotes Vedic verses and Vedic deities like Agni and Soma. So in this respect, the Vedas hold the seed and the foundation of all the teachings that have come out of the Dharmic traditions, including the Vedic sciences, which are Ayurveda, Jyotish, Vastu, of course, all the sciences of sound and mantra. And the Vedic mantras are multidimensional, and they have various levels of meaning. The Adhyatmic relative to the inner self, Adibhutic relative to material factors, Adidaiva relative to divine energies, Adiyagya. Veda is yagya. Yagya is offering. It is not sacrifice. It is an internal offering to the transcendent in which we become one with all. And the yagya has a bahir yagya, or outer ritual, which is what we do when performing a ritual, like the fire offerings, offering different fragrant substances, wood, ghee, and so forth. And then there is the antaryaga, or the inner yagya, in which we offer ourselves. We offer the 5 factors that the Vedas talk about: the vak, speech, prana, vital energy, chakshu, shrotra, the seeing power, and the hearing power, and manas as mind. We offer that into the inner fire. And that inner fire, or antar agni, is also atma, and is ultimately also chidagni, or the fire of consciousness. Now, in that perspective, I just want to introduce briefly what I think are the most important modern lines of the study of the Vedas and new interpretations of the Vedas. And we begin with Sri Aurobindo, Secret of the Vedas. Right now, we are working on developing a Vedic educational center, or Vedic university, along with the Sri Aurobindo ashram, and also the city of Oroville. We'll be discussing that and working with that and starting that in February a bit. And Sampadananda Mishra will be the main person behind that. I'm trying to help in the way that I can, but this is coming to fruition even as a institution at this particular time. Sri Aurobindo also hymns of the mystic fire, and he also brought out the need to understand this deeper level of Vedic symbolism, in which the symbol is not a symbol of some visible thing or some ordinary activity. The symbol is connecting to the transcendent symbolic thinking, where you're learning through images, or you're following the power of light. You're not necessarily seeing forms. And also what we call analogical thinking. Oh, Atman is like the sun. Atman is like the moon. Atman is like a Vayu. How can we understand Atma outwardly that way? Because there's the Atma in all things. Vayu is the movement of Akasha. Vayu is the source of life, and yet Vayu has no form of its own. So it's very much connected symbolically to Atma, but that's a different level of understanding. Sri Aurobindo's work was mainly brought through Kapali Shastry. His Siddhanjana goes in detail through, I think, the first 120 suktas of the Rig Veda. I was closely associated with M.P. Pandit, who was Kapali Shastri's disciple. In fact, it was M.P. Pandit. I visited him in 1979 and showed him my work on the Vedas, which was a personal thing. And he said he would publish that in India for me. I said, oh, that's great. But I said, I'm not a scholar. This is my own intuitive study. He says, that's good, because if you had been a scholar like all the rest, you would be producing the same type of meaningless things that they are producing. So then he began publishing my work in various Sri Aurobindo publications. And that tradition is developed in many ways, and even what Sakshi is doing with Professor Kashyap has done a tremendous expansion of that, even bringing in the other Vedas, including the Yajurveda. In fact, I would have to say that apart from Rig Veda, the most important Vedic text is the Shukla Yajurveda Samhita. And that is also unfolding this antaryaga, or this inner sacrifice that is yoga. But again, using to great extent an outer symbolism, and actually a lot of the symbolism of the Egyptian Book of the Dead. And in fact, this religion of the sun we find throughout the ancient world is also a religion of Atma, Purusha, the seer, the knower, and the Vedic teachings overall. And then through my connection with Ramana Maharshi, I discovered and was gradually drawn to the teachings of Kavyakanta Ganapati Muni. This was through K. Natation, who had been with Ramana since the age of 12. He was born in 1912. He didn't pass away, I think it was 2009. He had finished the 12 volumes of Kavyakanta Ganapati Muni's work. Ganapati was the greatest modern scholar, writer, poet. His Uma Sahasram of 1,000 verses is done in 40 chapters, each with a different Sanskrit meter. He also examined the Vedas. One of his disciples was Kapali Shastry. And he also gave this understanding of the Antaryaga, Baharyaga, and the Vedic Devatas overall. He had another disciple named Ramarshi Devarat, who did his own Vedic verses called Chandodarshana, and he became the main inspiration behind Maharishi Yogi's approach to the Vedas. In fact, Maharishi brought him to the West a few times, I think all the way up until the 1970s. So that return to the Vedas also came through him. So I had done a number of translations and studies of Vedas, but curiously, I was often echoing Ganapati's work even before I knew it. Fortunately, the 12 volumes of Ganapati's work that Natation put together, Sampadananda Mishra also edited it. You can get online through the Brahman Ashram. So that's another important line. And I also want to mention another figure connected a bit to the Sri Aurobindo line as well, which is Sri Anirvan. He was a Bengali Vedantic and Vedic teacher. He's wrote an extraordinary Veda Mimamsa, which has also been translated, and also worked with, he translated, I think, a lot of Sri Aurobindo's work into Bengali. And in his work, he also studied the symbolism of the Brahmanas and the Aranyakas and the other Vedas. And I would have to say that the teacher who has given the most depth to the Brahmanas, Aranyakas, and Vedic connection to Upanishads in detail has been Anirvan. There's an Akshay Prakashan, Harish Chandra, who was also originally part of Voice of India. He's brought these particular texts out. And even as Subhash Kak notes, for the Shatapatha Brahmana, the Agni Chayana, the fire altar, can be done with mantras or with prana. It can be an antaryaga of mantra yoga or prana yoga. So this esoteric Vedic tradition pervades all the Vedic teachings, even into the yoga and Vedanta and Tantra. In fact, the Vedas have what is called their Guhya teachings, secret teachings, and the Guhya Vidya behind the Vedas. And the Upanishads were said to represent that Guhya Vidya, which is there all along. So in other words, every sukta of Rig Veda can be interpreted at an adhyatmic level relative to yoga and Vedanta, including karma yoga, bhakti yoga, mantra yoga, pranaya yoga, and of course, Vedanta. So these traditions have gone on. Another Swami is Veda Bharati, who's also done some great work with that. So I just want to mention these because there are these new understandings of the Vedas that bridge the gap between Veda and Vedanta, and also have a futuristic vision, and also can be better understood, and also require us to re-examine Vedas. Even Bhagavad Gita speaks of the pranayama as a yajna, dharana dhyana yoga as a yajna, and there are, besides this important Gayatri mantra, there are 10,000 verses in the Vedas, which have almost, many of them, I would say, equal value to Gayatri mantra and equal secrets. Now, that being said, to make another point, the best way to understand the Vedas is through understanding the Devatas, here specifically speaking of Rig Veda. And here, Parikshit very helpfully noted to us the meaning of Agni. And essentially, Vedic deities exist on all levels of the universe, all the lokas, and all the koshas, because all of these manifest from the one. So let us take a quick look at the Agni there. Agni, for example, Ayurveda, we have the Jatar Agni for understanding health. We then move on to the Prana Agni for understanding the prana, but also for understanding the pranayama. We have the eye as the Agni among the senses for seeing. We have the Agni power of the mind for digesting sensory impressions. We have the Agni of the buddhi for discerning what is true or false, real and unreal, being and non-being. Yoga, Vedanta is all about developing that Agni of the buddhi. We have the Ananda form of Agni, which is the flame of love, bliss, devotion, desire, and Ananda in the higher sense. We have the Chidagni, the fire of consciousness, the Lalita Sahasranama. She's Chidagni Kunda Sambhuta. She's born of the Kunda of the Chidagni, the altar of the flame of consciousness. And even the Brahmagni, which is Sat, you go Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavir, Brahmagna, Brahmanahutam, Brahmeva, Tena, Gantavyam, Bhava, Karma, Samadhina. That is the Agni of Brahman, the Sadagni. Of course, Satchitananda is all Agni. So understanding these Agnis, its principles, Pitta, Tejas, Tapas, Agni is Tapas. We have the key to understanding so many things. Then I want to, I don't know, maybe we're losing some time here. I wanted to just introduce quickly Indra and the Indra-Shiva connection. Ganapati Muni equated Indra and Shiva. Vedas also do that. Taittiriya, Chandasam, Vrishabha, Vishwarupa is Indra, who is Omkara. As Ganapati says, Indra is the lightning aspect of the mantra, and Shiva is the sound aspect of the mantra. Even in the Aitareya Upanishad, Prajnanam Brahma also goes back to Indra and also to Vamadeva's mantras to Indra in the Rig Veda itself. And I'm going to say here something you might find interesting. Shiva is in many ways the supreme deity of the Vedas going back to Rig Veda. Many of you may find that hard to understand. Of course, the name Shiva isn't there. Rudra is there. But let's look at it very simply. Shiva has three eyes, sun, moon, and fire. Agni, Soma, Agni, Surya, and Soma. And these are the three main deities of the Vedas. Agni, sacred fire, Surya, the sun, and Soma, the whole Soma Sukta, Soma, sun and moon, Agni, Soma. And then the fourth, Indra, is the Vidyut, or the lightning. So all four are aspects of Shiva, and all four are, in a way, aspects of Indra. In fact, Indra in Upanishads is also said to be the drashta, or the seer. Indrani is the Devi of seeing, Indrakshi. And Im mantra is also seeing. In fact, Brahmarshi Devarat also talks about Im as the secret pranava of the Vedas. Indra as Shiva is also the power of sound, the power of the mantra. We could go on to that quite a bit. Vishnu is Upendra. Indra is Marutwan. Rudra is the father of the Maruts. Rudra is the Adi Yogi. Rudra Soma are also the fierce forms, the Raudra forms, the Soma, the Saumya forms, sun, the moon, all these things. And Shiva is, of course, in the Rudram said to be Agni Somatmakam Jagat. And then finally, and briefly, I know our time is limited, what is Soma? Soma is a sacred plant, but Soma is also the essence of the Ananda, or the bliss. This is also Soma as the moon, as the Ananda. And Soma is the state of samadhi. So all yoga, and even the tantric yoga, is based upon these three factors: Agni, Surya, and Soma. Agni being the Kundalini, and the three lower chakras being the Agni Kanda, Muladhara, Swadhisthana, Manipura. And then the three middle chakras are said to be the region of Surya as the sun, but also even connected to Vayu as centered in the Hridaya, or the heart, Manipura, Anahata, and Vishuddha. And three higher chakras, the realm of Soma, Vishuddha, Agnya, and Sahasrar. Sahasrar is always called Soma, and the realm of Soma, this is the tantric yoga, the three realms there. And so the yoga, the chakras, the kundalini is an antar-yaga through the Vedic deities, the ascent of Agni and the descent of the Soma and the expansion of the Surya as the Atma, or the Hridaya. So in other words, these energies, these devatas are there in all the yogas and all the practices. Indra, like Shiva, is also connected to the Vayu and Vata, and also has form as the sun and space. So we understand those devatas, but we understand them at an adhyatmic level, and we understand them as universal forces, because the basis of the Vedic thought is to take us from the many to the one by seeing the one in the many and the many in the one. The one is universal. The universal is one. The seer is the essence of all. There is also the sound that is beyond speech and word. That is where Vedas come from. There's also the light beyond all manifestation. So Veda then takes that reality in a more mantric, symbolic form in this cosmic language in which each sound has multidimensional meaning at all levels of existence and can be the seed of every aspect of wisdom and understanding and can help us understand whether it is the biological forces through the Ayurveda, the forces of geology were also based upon. There's an Agni in the center of the earth, all the different forms of light in the cosmos. So the ultimate Vedic science is beyond all these sciences, bringing in an Atma Vidya and a Brahma Vidya into every thing. Space and time are just coordinates of the mind, location in space and location in time. Consciousness, as Subhash said, transcends the mind. In fact, the mind is not conscious. The mind has a reflection of consciousness. Mind is a conditioned entity. Brain is the physicalization of mind. Consciousness is beyond body and mind, but its reflection is what allows the manifestation to occur. The Jivatma is the flame within us, and that becomes the Paramatma, which is the sun. That is another part of the Vedic yoga. So I will stop my talk here, and I'm very happy this discussion is going on, and let us take it on to many different levels and many different locations. Hari Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.